Hello, and welcome back to the Self-Help Podcast. We are on episode 4, and I am so grateful to be here. Today we are going to be talking about intuition, and this is something that I recently had to come to terms with, that a lot of the times my intuition is always correct, and I was having a very difficult time trusting myself with certain relationships and certain people in my life. I used to think that I was just paranoid when really it was my intuition telling me that something was off and something was wrong. So we're going to dive deep into that today. And before we get started, I just wanted to thank all of you for supporting the podcast and for your feedback. It really means the world to me, and I'm so happy that it's been helping you. So yeah, let's just dive right in, shall we? So I think that I used to feel like I was paranoid in certain situations because I had a very traumatic past. And when I would make a new friend or get in a new relationship, I would get a gut feeling, but I wouldn't listen to this gut feeling, which is also known as your intuition. Then at the end of it, I'd be like, wow, I was right all along and I wasn't paranoid. And I've finally come to terms with the fact that I'm not paranoid. And I also want you to know you are not paranoid, okay? And even if you are, it is better to trust yourself and trust your intuition and base your decisions off of your intuition rather than just feeling like you're paranoid, because it's better to be safe than sorry. And not trusting your intuition can get you into some pretty dangerous situations as well. Yeah, it can get you into some crazy situations. I'm in like a legal situation right now, which I did not trust my intuition with, and I was 100% correct when it came to this. That's kind of why I'm filming this video, because I wish there was something like this for me to see back when I thought I was just being paranoid. Let's talk about what your intuition feels like. I feel like we all kind of know what it feels like, but if you don't, it can be like a gut feeling where you're thinking of something and then you just get that gut feeling that something is not right or something's off. And this can also be for good things as well. You can have a gut feeling about a new job offer or something really good is about to happen. It's not always negative, but your intuition does try to protect you from bad things. Your intuition can also be up here in your third eye as well. And I never really experienced this until very recently, and I think it's because I'm becoming more spiritually awake. It is interesting, and your intuition kind of leans into psychic abilities a little bit as well. And sometimes your intuition really is psychic abilities. It is, honestly. It is. What am I even saying? It is psychic abilities. So we're gonna dive into that, and I'm gonna give you some examples. So I had this friend that I met probably a little over a year ago, and I initially had a gut feeling about him. And this gut feeling was that this person is not trying to be my friend. This person wants something from me, or they want something from someone else, and they had really off intentions. And I saw that right away. But then because they had messaged me, and then when I met them in person, I then was like, oh, maybe I'm just being paranoid because of my past. Let me give this person a chance into my life. And everything unfolded, and I was right. There was something off. And let me tell you something about feeling paranoid because you've been in past situations. So as far as that goes, past situations and traumas prepare your intuition to let you know when something has gone wrong. It helps you to understand more logically than just basing off of a feeling. And I didn't realize this at first, and I thought that I was just paranoid because I had situations like this in the past, but then everything unfolded, and this person showed me their true colors, and I stopped being friends with them. I also had a really off feeling in the beginning of this year about a friend, and it was very difficult for me because I had not talked to anyone about this situation, but there had been like certain situations with this friend that was very off, and they were actually like kind of rude to me. I just thought that it was me. I internalized it, and I just thought I was being paranoid. Come to find out, I had a friend who also had a similar experience with this person, and then I was like, oh wow, my gut feeling was right, And I literally internalized this whole situation into thinking that there was something wrong with me. So then I cut this person out of my life, and I felt a huge energetic release. I feel 10 times better now. Also, I want to mention I'm filming in my car again because I normally film in front of my couch, but I live with my ex, and in the last video I said that I lived with my roommate, which technically he's my roommate at this point. I'm gonna explain something real quick before I dive into what I'm about to say. He's been sleeping on the couch all day, and he's not even sick anymore, but his sleep schedule is just off, so I can't really film in front of the couch right now, and I don't want to make excuses, so I'm filming in my car again in my parking garage. So that's the vibes, and I'm sorry if it's not as nice. Please excuse the fact that I'm in my car. Good news is that he's leaving for a month, and I will have my couch again. So I'll be filming in front of my couch again. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out that whole situation because the reason he still lives with me is because he's from a different country and he needs to figure out what he's doing. He has a lot of stuff in the apartment, and maybe he can get that situated soon, hopefully. And also, I need to save up money so that I can fully pay the bills without him. We go 50-50 on everything, so I need to be able to fully financially support myself before he leaves. That's the reason why I live with him. So I just want to give you all some clarity as to why I'm filming in my car, what the situation is. The reason why I said roommate in the last video is because we didn't put it out yet that we were not together anymore, but it's finally posted on Instagram, so I feel like I can talk freely about it. But I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I had a gut feeling with my ex-husband that something was off, that I was being used, and yeah, that's as far as I'm going to say. And I was 100% correct, and I was brushing it off as if I was paranoid. Even he had told me sometimes oh, you just have trauma, That's the thing is my trauma prepared me to logically see something happening and recognize what's happening, and I didn't listen to my intuition, and it was always popping up, and I didn't listen to my intuition, and it got me in a very sticky situation. And I'm currently dealing with that situation and the repercussions of that situation, and then also dealing with trying to trust myself again because I allowed certain things to happen. I was fully aware intuitively that something was off. I didn't listen to my gut. When your intuition is trying to tell you something, listen to it, no matter what, because you really never know. And sometimes your intuition will just say that something is off about a person, and you won't really be able to make any logical sense of it. And then everything will unfold, and then you'll know why. But now I've come to a point where I'm going to trust my intuition with literally everything, and I don't even need to have a logical explanation as to why I don't want a person in my life, why I don't want to go through with something. Whatever the case may be, I'm going to trust my intuition in order to make decisions moving forward, because it got me into some really scary things, and it got me used, it got me manipulated, it got me abused. I'm also a survivor of narcissistic abuse as well, and that really fucks with your head because you then start to think that everything is your fault. You start to think that everything is you and that you are the problem, and when it's really them manipulating the fuck out of you. And so that's something that I really had to reprogram within my brain and be able to trust my intuition again, because it's my intuition was screaming when I was dealing with this narcissistic abuse, and I wasn't listening to it because someone else was manipulating me. And then it also got to a point where I was manipulating myself into thinking, no, I'm just paranoid because I have trauma and all this other stuff, when in reality I was being manipulated and abused and used. It was some really serious shit too. It was some really serious stuff that happened that I'm not going to talk about online because I'm still healing and I'm still processing, and I don't want to speak from an unhealed place, if that makes sense, about a situation. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut about that. But what I will say is I did have to deal with a lot of narcissistic abuse in my life for years, and I'm finally healing from that and trusting my intuition more. Something that happened recently was I had a stalker. I don't know how long they were stalking me for. I think they were stalking me, to my knowledge, for a week, but it could have been longer. And this is why I don't go outside anymore, really. I go outside, but I drive. I don't walk anymore, and I live in a walkable city, but I don't walk anymore. I used to walk the lake every single morning, but now I'm terrified, so I don't walk outside anymore. I got pepper spray, I got a noise alarm, but I had a stalker in this person was trying to like be friends with me or like trying to pretend to be friends with me. I don't know what their true motives were. I don't know if they were desperate for friends. I don't know what the case may be. It was a little sketchy, and one of my friends literally told me like, this sounds like a sex trafficking situation. I can no longer like go to places that I've regularly went to anymore because of this. However, it's given me new opportunities to explore and stuff. But what I mean to say by saying this is I had a gut feeling about this person. I was very naive and I did have a gut feeling, but I brushed it off as me being paranoid. No, I have trauma with men. I have trauma with, sexual abuse. I have trauma with all these things. So let me not project that onto somebody else, right? Like, let me not assume that this person is evil. And come to find out, they were definitely stalking me. Now, objectively looking at everything, I can tell what it was, and I ignored my intuition, and it literally got me stalked. That's something I had to deal with recently, and this is why I'm also sharing this, because you never know what bad situations you could get yourself in if you don't listen to your intuition, if you don't listen to that inner voice. And your intuition can come from an outside source trying to protect you, like a spiritual being or a guardian angel or something of that sort, or it could just come from within your spirit. But it can also come from past experiences and tangible things that have happened in your life that have prepared you to deal with situations like this. I started ignoring my intuition with the excuse that I was just paranoid that something bad was going to happen to me again, and that I need to allow people into my life and, trust people and all of these different things without even listening to my gut, because I was just under the impression, and it didn't help that I had a narcissist in my life, but I was under the impression that I was just paranoid. I was under the impression that I was just scared that something bad was going to happen to me again. And I literally gaslit myself. I manipulated myself. I'm now realizing everything, and my eyes are like wide open now. Like wide open. This is why I'm filming this podcast episode today, because I don't want anybody else to go through the shit that I have been through. If I were able to sit here and talk about every little detail of what has happened in my life for the last year to honestly like 6 years of my life, y'all would be shook. Like, literally, it is so bad. The shit that I put up with, the shit that I went through because I didn't listen to my intuition, and it makes me so annoyed at myself, and I'm still healing from this. It makes me so mad at myself for putting up with the shit that I put up with, but at the same time, I need to work on forgiving myself. I would like to say that I knew better, but in the moment I didn't, and in the moment I thought that I was just being paranoid and that I needed to allow good things into my life, quote unquote, because I was just paranoid. But I started attracting worse things into my life. It got to the point where I could no longer ignore it. It got to the point where the narcissist that was in my life was no longer even lying to me, and they literally outwardly told me their intentions, and then they backtracked and then lied to me again. Like, it was very weird. So I got confirmation that they used me and all these different things, but then they lied again. So I couldn't ignore it at that point. Like, when this person told me what their intentions were with me, I was like, oh wow. So I heard it directly from them. It also got to the point where I ended up with a stalker, and I allowed this person into my life for only a day until I realized that they were very creepy. And they had also like messaged me on Instagram previously. They were a fan, and they're probably watching this right now, but they're blocked on Instagram, by the way. But they had messaged me before on Instagram, and they told me, oh, I saw you walking with a yoga mat at 7 p.m. on this day, blah, blah, blah. And it was very creepy, and it weirded me out, and they ended up unsending it. But I was so confused, and then the next week, I saw them at that yoga studio, and they tried to be friends with me, and we were all talking about like where we lived at the yoga studio, and my intuition told me to not say where I lived, but I told them what apartment I lived in because it was just like locals talking, you know what I mean? And so I said it so this guy knew where I lived, and honestly, he probably knew where I lived without me even saying it anyways, based on different reasons that I realize now. And that's why I'm very, very careful with what I post on my stories and when I post them on my stories now. And I don't disclose my location anymore because of this. So it made me smarter. Yeah, and so he was talking to me in the yoga studio. He seemed really nice. And I was about to leave, and, well, I did leave, and my intuition was telling me, okay, don't talk to this guy. For whatever reason, do not talk to this guy. So I leave the yoga studio that night, and I'm, like, on my phone as I'm walking, and his apartment is on the way to my apartment. And he comes up to me and starts talking to me, and honestly, I thought he was a really chill person. I thought he was really cool. I thought we'd get along. I don't know how old he was. I think he was like maybe in his 40s. I have no idea. And this is also a red flag to me because I also had a friend who was like 60 something years old. I don't know why I thought this was okay, but like I'm done being friends with people who are like way, way older than me. It doesn't make sense. I think there's like something psychologically wrong with people when they're trying to be friends with someone who is literally 25 years old and they are old enough to be my dad or above my dad's age. Anyways, so I'm going to continue the story now. So this person, we walked and we were talking about yoga and talking about retreats and stuff, and I thought they were really cool. And there was like a group of guys behind us, and this is why I'm wondering if this was like a sex trafficking situation, because there was like a big group of guys behind us. I didn't think much of it until later, but then we were walking and we walked past his place. He's like, oh, is it okay if I walk you home? I'm like, yeah, sure. Also, I want to note, I'm usually not friends with straight men. I don't know if he was straight. I kind of thought he was gay. I'm not sure. But I kind of think maybe he wasn't now. I have no idea. My gaydar is like not very accurate. So, I don't know if he was gay or not. And if I'm friends with a guy, I am only friends with them if they are gay or, or like if they're my age but like they have a girlfriend or something. Like the reason I'm not friends with straight men is because they always try to like come after me in that way, you know what I mean? So I just like stay away from that because I've had experiences with that. But like I literally had a best friend for 5+ years and then they confessed their love to me and then I never talked to him again. And then I stopped being friends with straight men after that. Anyways, back to the story. He asked me if he could walk me home. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's like 2 minutes. So we get to my place. We're talking outside for a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go inside now. Like, nice meeting you, whatever. I went to shake his hand, and he fully hugged me. And I thought that was like a boundary that's like not okay because I am a hugger, but I did not want to hug this man. Like, I thought that was like very weird to do right away, especially like I didn't really know him. He also had told me that he's from where I am from in New York, which was very odd. Like I don't know if he's truly from there, if it was a coincidence or if he did his research on me, but he told me he was from there, and I thought that it was like a synchronicity of the universe because I sound so naive because I was, but I thought it was like a synchronicity because I was like, oh my gosh, like not many people are from there. Like, that's a very, like, small area, and nobody knows, like, what that is. So, I thought it was, like, a synchronicity, but come to find out, he probably did his research on me, and, yeah. So, anyways, I thought I was being paranoid about the situation. He asked me if we could be friends. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then something was just off, because he messaged me on Instagram, and he was, like, bombarding me with messages, like, paragraphs, calling me goddess, like, all these different things. It was, like, very weird. He was telling me he wanted to take me out to eat and all these different things. And, like, you don't ask someone to be your friend and then, like, try to make a move on them. You know what I mean? And I think he was, like, trying to do that. I wasn't sure. But he gave me very obsessive vibes. He gave me, like, very desperate energy. And I don't want someone with desperate energy in my life. And I am terrified when people are obsessed with me. That's why, like, you see these videos that are like, make them obsessed with you and make them, make yourself magnetic for them to be obsessed with you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want anybody to be obsessed with me at all. Obsession is scary, and obsession can lead you to getting stalked. So I'm sorry, I don't think you want people to be obsessed with you, sis, but to each their own. He seemed very obsessive, And I went to my friend's house the next day and I told her about the situation, and she's like, girl, he's stalking you. Like, just based on the things that you're telling me, he's stalking you. This is a very weird situation. He gives me the vibes like he would literally like hurt you. And I'm like, no, like he's so innocent. And she's like, no, girl, like it's the innocent ones that you have to be careful of. And when I heard that, I'm like, wow. Yeah, because there was also somebody else who appeared to be so innocent in my life and appeared to be so good-hearted. They ended up having like some sort of personality disorder. And I'm just like, wow, it really is the innocent ones that you need to be cautious of. So now I'm like, okay, I need to protect myself. I need to protect my energy. And I need to listen to my intuition more. Because my intuition was spot on with this guy. And I went about being friends with him, quote unquote, anyways. And I was also very uncomfortable. Like, when there's a man walking you home, like, it's very difficult to set boundaries when it's late at night, you're walking alone, and there's a group of guys behind you as well, and you don't have any type of self-defense. Like, it's very hard to, like, be firm. So, I was being nice because I was worried for my own safety. And I just, like, didn't want to cause a scene. So I basically told him I didn't want to be friends with him. He basically responded telling me, oh, like, I would love to, like, be friends with you and take it slow, blah, blah, blah. After I had set a boundary that I didn't want to be friends with him. So I blocked him, and I'm like, wow, this is what setting boundaries is like. I hope that helped in some way, because this was very difficult for me to deal with. I was very scared. I am kind of grateful for it because it did bring up a lot of unresolved sexual trauma, because I was actually very afraid of this man. Like, I became very afraid of him based on what my friend told me, based on what my dad told me. And I really typically don't like it when people tell me things like this, but I think it was necessary for my safety. I started having like a mental breakdown because I felt like I couldn't leave the house, and I got pepper spray, got a noise alarm and everything, and I've only been driving ever since. I haven't walked outside my apartment since then, and it's been a few weeks, maybe close to a month. I have no idea. I don't know how long it's been. Yeah, this is what happens when you don't listen to your intuition and you think you're just being paranoid. And then I started to actually be paranoid because I was like, oh my god, he knows where I live. I had to tell my building security, which thank god I have security, because if not, I think I'd be even more paranoid. So I'm safe. Don't worry about me. I'm good. Also, in case I'm not good, I want to mention in this video, I would never kill myself. I would never run away. I would never do anything like crazy like that. Like, I would never go off the grid and not tell anybody. Okay? Let's make that clear. So just for my safety, I want to say that, because I have not spoke up about this issue yet, and I don't know if he's watching or anything. It was a very scary situation. It brought up a lot of unresolved trauma, which I now realize needs to be worked through, which is why I'm probably going to sit with ayahuasca again, because I feel called. I go to a therapist, but I'm really not trying to talk about like my sexual trauma with a therapist. Like, I don't want to do that. So I feel like ayahuasca might help me. I have no idea. I'm not going to go in there with the intention of healing that specific trauma, but I kind of have a feeling that ayahuasca is going to help me heal in the way she feels. So I'm saving up for that. Hopefully I can go. Lots of healing happening, lots of trusting myself and my intuition, and looking at things objectively rather than having my feelings involved, because it's been a ride, it's been a roller coaster, and eventually I would love to make a video of the red flags to look out for with like narcissists. If you're in a relationship with a narcissist, or there's a narcissist in your life, like, I really want to make a podcast episode of the red flags of that, because girl, have I been through it, and now I know. Now I know. So let me know if you'd like to see that, if that resonates with you. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this episode. I really appreciate you for being here. My whole message to you of this episode is literally just to trust your intuition. Do not brush it off as just being paranoid. And if you ever need anyone to talk to about anything, I am here. Voice memo me on Instagram, girl. Like, I've got you, because that was like a huge thing for me. I wasn't telling anybody the things that I was going through because I genuinely thought that it was me. I internalized shit. I thought that I was the problem, when in reality, I was not the problem. I was just allowing shit, and I got manipulated. And I did not deserve this, but shit happens. I learned from it, and now I can relay this information to you guys. And if you feel like you have no one to talk to about something, I'll give you my opinion, and I'll share what I feel based on my intuition about a situation, because I do not want anybody to go through the similar shit that I've gone through, because that shit was probably the worst shit I've gone through in my life. And when I tell you I have been through it, I've had a murder in my family, I have been in a mental hospital, I have had sexual abuse, I've had very abusive relationships in my life. I have gone through it. And the shit that I went through recently that I'm not talking about in this video was probably the worst shit that I've been through in my life, based on the fact that I was so fucking manipulated. I lost my sense of self. I lost who I was. I started to hate myself. I thought that I was a bad person. I was internalizing everything. And I just want to have this message be out there to trust your gut. Trust your intuition. Your intuition is there for a reason. If you intuitively feel something, run. Run away from that thing. If you feel off about a person, you do not need any type of confirmation that it is right to leave the situation or to not deal with that situation. Because let me tell you, your intuition is a good enough reason to not talk to someone anymore, to not go after a certain job or whatever. Your intuition is protecting you, so listen to it, okay? Thank you so much for watching today's episode. I really, really appreciate you being here. Don't forget to leave a like and rate this podcast wherever you are listening on. And I would love for you to leave a comment of what you think, and we can chat in the comment section below. I will see you in the next episode. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day.